Can I get a waffle? Can I please get a waffle?
Hello there and good afternoon, one and all. Stuart Thompson here with Strength for Tomorrow Radio. Hope you're well. This week we're going to talk about snackcidents. It's not even a word, I just made it up. But what do you do for a snack? Do you have a snack? Are you a fan of snacking? Do you prefer to stick to your meals, 3 meals per day? We're going to talk about what are some sensible choices of a snack, what are some unwise choices, and how to match your snacks to your goals. Stick around for Joke of the Week and also News of the Week as well.
Are you hungry?
So there was no show last week, as you might have noticed. At least only the true fans will have noticed. But basically, the reason for that is my wife tested positive for COVID-19 and it meant that we were isolated for 10 days. Yay! Not so much. Now, in theory, you might think that that would mean I would have lots more time to be really creative and produce some more shows in advance or do more nice editing and some snazzy post-production features. But in reality, I didn't even get time to scratch myself. And scratching oneself is important. Now, my wife, she was isolated upstairs from myself and our daughter because both of us were consistently negative and we also had 0 symptoms. So I now have a newfound respect for any single parents out there, especially the ones whose children are fussy eaters or who like to wake up for several hours in the middle of the night. I'm glad to get back to work for a rest, if truth be told. So also, these podcasts, while they might be informative, sometimes they're a bit silly, a bit entertaining, they're fun for me to do and I'm going to keep doing them while I have the time and while they're still fun for me. So on with the show. Snacking is something that we learn about as a child. In the last week, I've learned that it can stem from possibly our parents wanting to give them some sort of peace and offering us some sort of treat or snack, just to, maybe the child's kicked off and they're getting a tantrum going and they're turning into little demons. It's mad how children can just turn like that, isn't it? Crazy. But the amount of snack variations out there for kids alone is absolutely terrifying. There's so many snacks. There's so many different varieties. Now, my older brother would argue that a snack is a snack, whether it's for a 19-month-old or, if it's good enough for them, it's good enough for him kind of thing. That's why he's ended up eating some of the snacks and things that my mum has gotten for her little granddaughter. And I'm not even joking. But, if we go back to school, whenever you go to school and you're a kid, you get snacks. We got them as toddlers and, sometimes they're sensible snacks, other times not so much. It's interesting that we tend to bunch snacks under one umbrella, whether it's an apple or a bar of chocolate, we refer to it as a snack. Now, the difference in calories and nutritional benefit we derive from them is very different. So it's easy to get confused, especially if you're a kid, if you've been taught that both are eligible to be called snacks. It's confusing for children and apparently it's confusing for adults as well. But snacking it's one of the main, I would say it's possibly one of the main contributors to unnecessary and unwanted weight gain in the West, so Europe and America and Australia, etc. I don't know, is Australia in the West? That's the way you look at the map, really, doesn't it? I'm going to say it's in the West. The English-speaking world, we refer to it as that. It doesn't really count in Europe then, but you know what I mean. Crisps, biscuits, chocolate, cereal bars, etc. are all loaded with excessive empty calories that do little to satisfy us but substantially increase our calorie intake for the day. And it's one of those topics that regularly comes up with clients or prospective clients. What should I have for a snack? What do you think about snacking? Now, all of the following advice I'm going to give in this podcast, this episode, is just that. It's advice. And they aren't hard and fast rules. We have to allow for individual preferences and tastes. So what I'm going to give you are some ideas, maybe even some new ways to think about snacking that will transform your attitude towards snacks and the concept of snacking in general. So to put some context on things, I guess it depends what your goal is. It depends if you're trying to lose weight or get slimmer, or it depends if you're trying to build muscle, increased strength, or if you're just going for optimal health, or sports performance perhaps. So we're going to delve into a couple of these and put a bit of context on them. The first one, if you're trying to get slimmer or lose weight, the first question you need to answer is, do you even need to snack? Can you get by without snacking? Is it necessary? Is there a requirement? Or have you built up a habit of having snacks that you now think that you need them? You need them. In my experience of working with clients, chatting to them about snacking habits, I've found that many of us revert to snacks just because we get hungry. We start feeling hungry. So there's a few questions then that emerge. One of them is, why do you feel hungry? What did you have to eat last? How long ago was it? And the answer to these questions is very revealing. It really helps us understand why you need to snack in the first place. So, the answer might be different for different individuals. For example, if you had cornflakes or toast for breakfast, you might have felt full at the time. Like, 2 slices of toast, bit of marmalade, bit of jam, peanut butter, whatever on it. You might think at the time, I'm stuffed. That's me, out the door, go to work. And you couldn't eat any more. But then, maybe an hour or two later, you feel hungry again, right? So if you had that at, 8 o'clock, you're going to work for 9 o'clock, say you had that at 8 or half 8, then, by 10 o'clock or half 10, you're maybe feeling a bit hungry again. And that's maybe why you feel the need to snack, because your breakfast has consisted of something that hasn't filled you up. Now, this might be different for different people. If I give you a set breakfast here, it might work for 90% of the population to keep them feeling full, but for 10%, they might not agree and they might not have the same experience. That's okay, but that's why nutrition is such a complex area and why it's so personalised. One of the tricks, if you want to call it that, of getting slimmer without feeling hungry lies in food selection, not just the total calories consumed. We all know that calories are king, or should do, but if you aren't in a calorie deficit, you ain't losing weight, you ain't getting slimmer. Forget about it. But that doesn't mean you have to starve yourself or feel hungry all the time in order to achieve this state. This is why it's important to pay attention to the choices you make whenever it comes to food and meals. Put it this way, do you think it's going to be easier to lose weight or get slimmer by being hungry all the time or full and satisfied all the time? Because you can do it either way. You can do it both ways. It's just that one will probably drive you crazy and probably lead to negative results long term, and the other is sustainable for life and it's a lot less torturous. So whenever it comes to main meals and snacks, you want to focus on two main things: fiber and protein. Why is this? First of all, if you are trying to get into a calorie deficit, and you should be if you're trying to lose weight, otherwise you are wasting your time. Newsflash. Sorry to break it to you. Sorry, not even lead up to it in a kinder, softer way. I've just broken it to you. You're wasting your time. Then you want to preserve muscle tissue. You want to preserve muscle tissue and you want to use your fat tissue as fuel. We've dealt with all this before in previous episodes, particularly the fat loss episode. I think that was like number 3 or 4. But keeping your protein intake up will help achieve this. If you're eating protein instead of fat, it'll enable you to get into a calorie deficit because it is lower in calories per gram than fat. If you want to be sure you're losing fat and not just suffering from muscle wastage in your calorie deficit, you need to make sure you're eating protein throughout the day in every eating occasion. Not just every meal, every eating occasion. Not just meals, snacks, main meals. Like a roast chicken dinner at night isn't going to be enough. Getting 30 grams of protein in the evening is not enough. Some people think, whenever I say, I'm eating protein at the minute, well, I'm not having protein shakes, but I'm having, I got a roast dinner the other night, I got a turkey, or I got spaghetti bolognese. If that's the extent of your protein intake, I'm here to tell you that that is not enough if you're trying to get slimmer and stay full, feeling full all the time. Protein also helps you stay satiated. Now, satiated sounds like a very scientific word. At least I used to think it did. Maybe not to you. You're possibly more refined than me. Definition of satiated is to satisfy fully. It's very, very simple. But protein satisfies you longer than other macronutrients like carbs and fats. Protein also doesn't mess about with your insulin levels like carbohydrates do. So that's why you want to include protein into your diet and your snacks if you can, and your meals, of course. The other component you want to include in your snacking besides protein is fiber. high fiber foods tend to be a lot more filling than low fiber foods, so you're probably likely to eat less and stay satisfied for longer, and a bit like protein. And high fiber foods also tend to take longer to eat and they're less energy dense, so there's less calories in them for the same volume of food. Next bit is possibly a bit graphic, so cover your ears if you're a bit sensitive. But dietary fiber also increases the weight and size of your poo, and it softens it. So a big bulky poo is going to be easier to pass. Things you never thought you'd say on the internet. This decreases your chance of constipation, basically. So if you have loose, watery poos, fiber, I call them stools. Stools is more refined, isn't it? Stools is something like a doctor would say, or anyone in the medical profession. We'll call them stools. Let's be dignified about this, people. So, yeah, if you've got loose, watery stools, fiber can help to solidify the stool because it absorbs the water and adds bulk to it. So it also helps to maintain your bowel health. If you've got a diet that's high in fiber, you can lower your risk of developing hemorrhoids, small pouches in the colon. Studies have also found that high fiber diets likely lower the risk of colorectal cancer, which isn't something nobody wants. Some fiber is fermented in the colon. So research are also looking at how this may play a role in preventing diseases of the colon. So it's an interesting area that I don't fully understand it yet, but it's fair to say that eating more fiber is a good thing. It also lowers cholesterol levels. Soluble fiber, it's found in beans, flax seeds, oat bran, oats. It can actually help lower total blood cholesterol levels by lowering low density lipoprotein or bad cholesterol levels. You might know them as. Studies have also shown that high fiber foods may have other heart health benefits, such as reducing blood pressure and inflammation. So there's plenty of reasons to get fiber in besides just weight loss or fat loss or slimming reasons. A few other reasons, it also helps control your blood sugar levels. So in people with diabetes, fiber, particularly soluble fiber, can slow the absorption of sugar and help improve your blood sugar levels. A healthy diet that includes insoluble fiber may also reduce the risk of developing type 2 diabetes. So something else that you probably need to think about whenever it comes to snacking and deciding whether it's for you or not is, or even just deciding whether it's absolutely necessary or not, is hydration. So how much water are you taking in? How much water are you drinking each day? One sensible tip is to drink a glass or two of water before you snack, or if you start to feel hungry. If you think you're hungry, quite often it's actually dehydration. If maybe you are feeling really hungry and you can't get a snack that is a beneficial one, like the ones we've said that are high in fiber, high in protein, then drinking lots and lots of water will help to keep your hunger at bay. Now, with all of that being said, at the end of the day, getting slimmer or losing weight relies upon a calorie deficit. This is just one of the laws of the universe, I'm afraid, and we can't change it. It's a bit like gravity. You might not like jumping off a cliff, end your life because of you go splat, but it's just the way it is, isn't it? Same thing, calorie deficit. Without it, wasting your time. So in one sense, it doesn't really matter whether you snack between meals or not. If you can organise your calorie intake in such a way that it means that you don't need snacks and you aren't going hungry and you're in a deficit, brilliant, great, well done to you. If you can organise your calorie intake in such a way that means that you can include snacks and you're still in a deficit, even better, great, well done. Whatever works for you, you do whatever you have to do to suit yourself and to make it as painless and stress-free as possible. That would be my advice if you're trying to lose weight and get slimmer and include snacks. So if you're trying to build muscle or get stronger, you're going to want to get more protein in than normal, and you're going to want to increase your overall calories so that you're in a slight surplus. In one sense, you want to make sure you're not getting too full at meals. You might need to eat 3 to 4 snacks per day, or you might even want to break this up into like 6 or 7 smaller meals instead of 3 meals plus 3 or 4 snacks per day. The reason for this is your body needs protein to build more muscle. Your body needs excess calories to build more muscle. So if you can do that, if you can add those in, and do it throughout the day, so every 2 or 3 hours, whatever it is you can do, maybe eating smaller snack-like meals is going to be the way to go. So snacking in that case is a good idea, as long again as you're getting in enough protein. So the sources we'll discuss later on. If you're just trying to maintain optimal health, you probably need to chat to a dietitian, to be honest. I'm not the best person to ask when it comes to that, but snacking is therefore optional. You don't have to snack unless you really want to. If you're not concerned with building muscle or losing weight or counting calories, then you might not want to bother snacking at all. And if you do, what should you eat? Probably food choices which are going to have plenty of useful vitamins and minerals in them. So, the usual things, fruit and nuts, I would say, are as good a things you can go for as anything, especially fruit. So with all that said, what are some snacks that you should probably avoid if you're trying to build muscle or get slimmer, get leaner? We've chatted a bit about principles that you want to include if you're choosing snacks. Some of the things that you might want to avoid are things that have an excessively high calorie content, things that are high in salt or sugar content, that lack fiber or protein, and are high in sugary carbs and trans fats. Now, some of these, they're really common examples. I think we all know what they are, but crisps or chips, if you're listening and you're in America, which 10% of our audience are. Chocolate is another one. Sweets or candy, again, if you're an American audience. Biscuits and cookies, cake, and then salted roasted nuts. Things like cereal bars as well, although they are packaged and manufactured and they're marketed and branded as if they're really, really healthy and they're good for you, inverted commas, they're quite often not. They're full of sugar, full of salt, and full of fat, and there's very little protein quite often in them. And they have a list of ingredients that are the length of your arm with words that most of us cannot pronounce. So those are some of the things to avoid. We all know them, right? Crisps, chocolate, sweets, biscuits, cakes, cookies, salted roasted nuts, things like that. Now, the nuts thing, they're probably the tail end. They're probably not the worst thing in the world, but those other ones you certainly want to avoid for all the reasons we said above. Things like spiking your insulin levels, the high calorie count in them, high sodium count, high sugar, all those things. Those are stuff you basically want to avoid as much as possible. Now, sometimes it needs a must. If you're absolutely starving, you need to get some nutrition in. Although there's very little nutrition in any of those, you might have to do them some stage. But I would recommend holding off, waiting for something much better, something that's going to be beneficial for your body, and we're going to discuss those now. So I've chosen the following list of snacks, or some examples of snacks. You might not like all of them, you might not even like any of them, but you can adapt them or tweak them as you want to make them fit you. But I've chosen them for a few reasons. One of them is they're relatively low in calories, they're nutritionally dense, and they're relatively high in either protein or fiber, maybe a little bit of both. So for one of those reasons, that's why they've been chosen. So first of all, protein sources. Cottage cheese is a really good source. It's a really good snack. It can be put in one of those refrigerated bags. You can store it in the fridge, of course. It's good to have before bedtime as well. If you're peckish, you're looking for some sort of bedtime snack, because it is high in casein protein, which is a slow release protein that will feed you through the night. Pumpkin seeds are another one, are quite high in protein, quite high in calories as well, but because they're mainly included because they're high in protein and fiber. Canned fish, so tuna, salmon, whatever it is you like. Obviously the fresh stuff is much better, but if you're on the go and you need a snack, that is not a bad option. So one of my clients was actually asking me about it the other day. I think it was William. Yeah, great option. Plain Greek yogurt is another great example. You get plenty of protein, and you get like 17 grams per cup if you're using cups to measure things. Icelandic yogurts, the likes of Skyr yogurts, other products are available, but you know what I mean? Those Icelandic yogurts, there's lots of varieties now, but they are great. Really high in protein, quite low in calories, and low in fat. Milk, on its own, or you can use it in a protein shake, is another great option. So you're going to get plenty of plenty of quality calories in there, plenty of protein. And drinking calories tends to be a lot easier than eating calories. So if you are trying to put on muscle, milk is a great way to do it. Milk is an exceptional way to do it because, as I said, it's easier to be drinking your calories because you don't really know you're getting fuller. Beef jerky is another one. 33 grams per 100, so 33% protein, basically 33 grams per 100 grams, which is fantastic. Protein bars, the only drawback with them is a high sugar load, but they're good if you're stuck and you're wanting a high protein hit. Hard boiled eggs, you get around 6 or 7 grams per egg roughly, depending on the size, somewhere around that. Nut butter packets, so depends on whatever brand you're buying and if they're sweetened or not, but you're getting around 3 grams per packet. They're not probably the best source, but it's another source of protein and a bit of fibre. Pistachios are another great one. You're getting fibre, some good fats, and yeah, they can be a little bit higher in calories, so you want to watch how many you're having, but for the reasons above, full of fibre, full of protein, you're going to stay full if you even have a few of them. Mixed nuts, again, they're just nuts in general, as long as they're unsalted and unsweetened in any way, roasted or anything like that. Try and keep them as plain as possible. Walnuts are another great one. Carrot sticks they're probably more of a high fibre one. Biltong, yeah, biltong's a great one. That's like the South African version of beef jerky. It's possibly, I would say, even better than beef jerky. It tends to have less sodium included in it. Again, depends on the brand, but quart cheese, another great one. So it's like a German invention. Really, really good snack, and again, good to eat before bedtime, or just as an alternative to like a yogurt or whatever else you might have between your lunch and your dinner, or between your breakfast and your lunch. Let's see, unsalted nuts, we said that already. And then high fibre snacks, things like celery sticks, things like carrots. Walnuts fit into this category as well because they're so high in fibre. Dried fruit as well. Again, the real thing's probably better if you can get it. So apples and oranges and pears and bananas. There's plenty of fibre content in those. Raspberries or berries in general are a great option. They really do fill you up. So raspberries, strawberries, blackberries, blueberries, all of those things. Prunes, another great option. Plenty of fibre. Apricots. Kale chips. So if you're someone who has had coronavirus and you have no taste, you can go for kale chips. Protein powder smoothies are sometimes another great option. There can be lots of fibre in that to fill you up, and you get your protein as well as your fibre through your shake. Tomato or vegetable juice, and again, you might need to have had coronavirus for this one, the side effect of the no taste, but tomato or vegetable juice, so you're getting vitamin A, vitamin C and potassium, and then bean chips. So I guess we don't really get as many over here, but in America you can get them a lot more. You can probably get them on Amazon maybe. Dark chocolate, 70 to 85% cacao. So you're going to get iron, magnesium, copper, manganese, and lots of fibre as well. Obviously don't eat too much because again they're quite high in calories, but those are some snack ideas. You're probably going to be like, but I don't like any of those snacks that I've suggested. I understand that. Everybody's got different tastes. I fully get that. That's why I advise you to concoct your own little go-to snacks based upon the principles out of the above. So you can find things that are higher in fibre, things that are high in protein, combine them. It doesn't have to be a meal as such. You could eat a couple of things and make that your snack. So go through the list, tweak it, and just make it fit you, make it fit your preferences and your tastes, and you'll not be too far away from creating some perfect snacks that are going to keep you feeling full and can help you lose weight or get slimmer if that's your goal, or they will be able to help you build muscle if that is your goal. So we've touched on it already, but is snacking for you? And that's a question only you can answer. I can't answer it for you, I'm afraid. You don't have to have something every time that you feel a bit peckish in between meals. There's nothing necessarily wrong with feeling a little bit hungry and waiting for your lunch or your dinner, just as long as you have something planned so you know what you're going to eat next, you know what your next meal is going to be, and you're not going to go for something that is useless, like a McDonald's. Other crap places are available. Just like you had to do, whenever you're a kid and your parents are like, no, don't be eating that, don't be snacking on that, it's going to ruin your appetite, you're not going to eat your dinner. Same thing when you're an adult, really. Just don't eat like a kid. If you're a kid, you kind of want to jump in and have a packet of crisps or some sweets or some chocolate. Being an adult, it's about waiting for your dinner. So if you find that you're always hungry, like we've said earlier, add more fibre and protein to your meals and drink more water in between. If you're doing those three things, you're not going to be as hungry. You might even find that if you avoid snacking between meals, it'll actually be the key to getting closer to your goals, especially if you're trying to lose weight or get slimmer. Some people really swear by intermittent fasting, in which case you're going like 16 odd hours without anything to eat. You're just drinking water or drinking something, but you're not taking your calories in those 16 hours. You're kind of squeezing them into the other 8 hours in the day, whatever 8 hours you decide those to be. So simple discipline and consistency, they really do go a long way to reducing body fat and then keeping it off in the long term. And I've got a new phrase for you. If you ever heard of the phrase, you are what you eat? Well, what about this one? You become what you buy. Do you like it? I got that myself. I don't know you, but if I buy a snack and put it into my cupboard, 10 times out of 10, I'm going to eat it. Probably that day, and probably more than I should that day, because I've gotten a multi-pack probably. All of it. I'm just going to consume the whole lot. And I know not everybody's like me. Some people have a lot better discipline than me. That's true. The simple fact is, if you don't buy it in the first place, you won't eat it. And, after all, I'm not a thief. I'm not going to just start eating stuff out of a supermarket without paying for it and bring it home. Many people, including myself, if it's in your cupboard, it's going to be eaten by someone, whether it's you or your family member. So it's a bit of a team effort. So if you buy junk food for snacks, they're going to get eaten. So don't buy it. Stop buying poor snack choices, plus putting them in your cupboards equals problem solved. Is a really simple equation, but one that will make a big positive change in your diet. Another thing is answering this simple question before you snack. So if you're tempted to snack on something that you don't really need, ask yourself this: is this going to get me closer to my goal or further away? So if it's a case of you're building muscle, yeah, if you're eating something sensible, it probably is going to get you closer to your goal. If you're trying to lose weight, you need to really dial in and go, what is the content of this? Is it going to help me or push me further away from my goal? If your goal is to get slimmer, the answer to that is almost always going to be no. You need to make sure that you're eating well, you're choosing your calories well. Otherwise, you will feel hungry very quickly, and your scale weight is going to go up and certainly not go down. Same with your waist size, waist circumference. If you can try and build a good habit over the top of your bad habit. So if you find that you're addicted, you've just got this habit of 4 o'clock you need something to eat, or 10 o'clock in the morning you need something to eat. It's well known that bad habits and old habits die hard. So if your best hope is to build a new habit over the top of your old one, not necessarily just going, right, I'm not going to eat anything at 10 o'clock. Maybe just switch what you are eating, whether it's a bacon butty or whatever, to something a bit more sensible. And if you can identify whatever trigger it is, so say you snack and it's not because you're hungry, it's just because of stress or anxiety or worry or boredom. There are all sorts of reasons why we sometimes snack without reason. If you can kind of be aware of whatever your trigger is, and then choose to do something useful in the response to it instead of something detrimental, that's going to be a big help as well. So this technique has been found to be really, really effective, rather than simply cutting snacks out or saying you're not going to do it. Because then if you break that, guess what? You're going to feel really guilty, you're going to feel bad, you're going to feel worthless, you're going to be like, I said I would do this and I didn't do it. If you're denying yourself whenever you find your trigger for needless unhealthy snacks, try to practice building something over the top of it. So get practicing is my advice. And most of us know what we should eat and roughly how much, if we're really honest. Most of the time we just don't think about it. We don't think about it long enough. As a trainer, I recognise and I realise that there is so much more to getting in shape than just the mass of calories in versus calories out and counting your macronutrients. Success really is deeply intertwined with lots of continual psychological battles. Sounds a bit of a mouthful, but we know that eating excessive calories causes us to gain weight. We know that Mars bars are higher in calories than carrots, and that water has 0 calories. But to focus only on the mathematical side of things and ignore the other factors, it really can lead us to frustration and failure, feeling of failure, and even despair if it happens over and over and over again. Stress is one such factor. If your primary reason for snacking is stress, then here are some strategies to help you either cut out snacking or get around it, as to kind of mitigate the consequences of stress can have on your eating and drinking behaviour. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy. It doesn't mean that it's going to apply to everybody, and it's not going to certainly be, it's not going to be easy to apply. Nor should you think that you can achieve all of them in one go. You might only be able to adopt 1 or 2 of these tactics with your current lifestyle. Maybe in the future you'll be able to opt for different ones, or ones that suit better at that point in time. So the first one is plan your meals ahead of time. I've said it before, we mentioned it briefly, but closely linked to stress, snackings, or cravings and hunger pangs. So if you plan ahead, and you know what you're going to eat well in advance, you can control the quality of the nutrients you're going to be consuming, even whenever you're stressed out. Compare this scenario to whenever you don't plan. You tend to end up, you wind up eating stuff that you see first, which tends to be junk. And this often happens to, lack really important nutrients, like we said above, protein and fiber. And that satisfy you maybe, those things that satisfy you a lot longer, and they keep you feeling full for much longer, which means you're going to snack more later on. And there's a recent scientific study that has found this. It's not just overeating. It's not like people who are obese are eating excessive amounts in every single meal to the point that they're busted. It's just that they're choosing the wrong foods, and then they're getting hungry again and eating regularly, too regularly, on the wrong things. So this little technique, it'll enable you to stay within the calories that your body actually needs and avoid putting on weight. So this is whether you do the grocery shop once per week or twice per week. Try and do specific recipes in mind for specific meals, for specific days. That's going to make it a lot easier. So for one example might be to prepare your meals on Sunday evening for lunch, and dinner on Monday and Tuesday, and then lunch on Wednesday. Maybe Wednesday evening you could cook a batch or two that will do your dinner for Wednesday evening, lunch and dinner on Thursday and Friday as well. And then it's the weekend, you'll have more time, you can start thinking about shopping and planning again. It's just one technique, it's just one plan. Obviously your lifestyle's going to look different to mine, but that's just one that you might want to think about adopting. Number 2, provide yourself with more helpful options and less of the unhelpful ones. So whenever we're stressed, we tend to snack unnecessarily. We just do it, like we said, just, you're stressed, you just need something to do, something to take the edge off things. Some people have a glass of wine, some people have a cigar, some people will start eating some chocolate. That's just the way it is. But it's not because we're particularly hungry. It isn't because we need the nutrients, because we're starving, literally starving. It's just how stress can play out practically in a modern world. So with this in mind, it's always a good idea to stock your cupboards with high quality nutritious food sources that are going to help you get slimmer or stay slim if you are slim at the minute. So one of them is, unsalted nuts. We've said them before: fruit, berries, quark cheese, cottage cheese, skyr yogurt, protein bars, beef jerky, biltong, eggs. We've mentioned all these before. They're all good options. Proteinous, full of protein, full of fiber. So instead of buying a 4-pack of crunchies, you can get a little insight into my mind there, or a multi-pack of crisps, or opt to buy, bulk buy some of the other options instead. That's going to help you get closer to your goal, even whenever you're stress snacking. Another top tip that's often overlooked is scheduling time inside your calendar or your diary to de-stress. And that might sound like something that's a bit hippie-ish or a bit out there, or even a little bit girly. But I don't know if you're still allowed to say that, but just as you would schedule other important things into your phone calendar, you could schedule some de-stress time into your week or your day. So if you're going to plan your workout for an hour a week, hopefully it's going to be more than an hour a week, hopefully it's like 3 times a week, or at least. Why not plan some de-stress time for like an hour a week? So Friday evening, do something. So often we ignore the need for de-stressing, but we fail to see the bigger picture and the unfortunate consequences that come from being stressed. So some effective ways to de-stress, maybe like, just relaxing outside. If it's the summer, we're going into the winter and autumn now, but if it's the summer, get some sunshine. Some chilled music, probably not something like Guns N' Roses. Get a massage and do some tissue work with a foam roller, or like a hard lacrosse ball, something just to get in there and loosen up those tissues and get them regulated and back to normal and working again. Have a bit of a laugh, meet up your friends, have a bit of a laugh, do some stretching, deep breathing, some easy swimming, go to the sauna, steam room, hot tub, go to a spa treatment. Not really for me, but get a spa treatment if that's your thing. Light some candles, dim the lights, get a bath. Again, not my thing. You read a book. Scrolling on Instagram and Facebook isn't the same thing, because they're designed to manipulate your psychology and to stress you out even more potentially. So get a book, get something that you enjoy reading and it's easy to read, it's not a challenge to read. Read it and enjoy it. Drink a cup of tea, chamomile tea, green tea, black tea if you really want it. Whatever, lemon tea. You're the boss. You're in charge. Watch a sunset. Maybe not as appealing this time of year, but get a sunset. Like, go outside, light a fire, do whatever it is that you like to do to de-stress. And again, you know better than I do what that is. But guess what? The better you can deal with stress, the less stress snacking that you're going to do. The way that you're dealing with the stress itself, rather than this way you're going to deal with the stress itself rather than the consequences of it. So you're not going to just treat the symptoms. You're going to actually treat the root of the problem. Next one's really simple. Just get outside more. It's maybe not as appealing coming into the autumn and winter, but studies have found that just by getting into nature, it actually reduces stress hormones, heart rate, lowers blood pressure, improves mood, improves your immune system function, and even increases motivation and energy levels. So many of us, especially in Northern Europe, are just predisposed to being inside all the time, aren't we? Our jobs kind of dictate that we should be inside most of the day, and then just the elements, the weather does that. But do get outside. Our grandparents and parents and grandparents were onto something whenever they encouraged us to get outside for some fresh air. We've all been told that before, right? This one kind of pains me to say, but consider reducing your caffeine intake. And that's a hard one for me to admit, but consuming caffeine in moderate amounts, it can be really beneficial to your overall health, believe it or not, even though it is a productive drug. But if you're feeling stressed out and you aren't sure why, you might need to reduce your caffeine intake. You might need to detox from it, cleanse from it, whatever word you want to use there. Caffeine, although it can bring some benefits, it can increase anxiety, insomnia, increase your blood pressure, heart rate, and muscle breakdown, and have addictive side effects. Yeah, not good. And all of this only heightens your stress levels, which can lead to the phenomenon of stress, snacking, and therefore your unwanted weight gain, like we've been chatting about. So this doesn't mean that you should completely eradicate coffee or tea from your life, but you might need to maybe just rein it in a little bit. If you have 3 or 4 cups a day, maybe back to 1 or 2. If you have 5 or 6 cups a day, you might need to dial it back to 3 or 4. Wherever you are on the scale, maybe think about reducing it if you want to try and reduce your stress and reduce stress snacking. Number 6, chat to your friends, family, spouse, or coach. So this might seem like an obvious one, and it shouldn't really have to be said, but having a strong support system around you is often overlooked when it comes to stress management. So if you're able to chat to somebody close to you, so maybe it is your best friends, just meeting up, having a laugh, just getting it out in the air, just venting, whatever it is you have going on, just let someone else know about it and get their 2 cents. But you'll just feel even better just talking about it and not bundling it all up inside you and worrying about it or getting angry about it or getting stressed about it. So yeah, chat to somebody, whoever that is. In a similar vein, you could practice keeping a diary or a journal. A bit like telling your best friend or telling your mum or telling whoever about something that's going on in your day. Whenever you catch yourself stress snacking, or maybe after the carnage has settled down, you could write down a few details, ask yourself a few questions. Where were you? What were you doing? What were you thinking about? What were you feeling? Who was with you? Try to capture as much detail as possible about whenever this happens, and maybe your boss is putting pressure on you. I don't know. Perhaps you had to shout at your kids. Someone maybe cut you off when you were driving home from work. It could be a combination of issues which sent you towards junk food, but the important thing is that you document it, even if you feel it's a wee bit silly or a wee bit pointless. Keep it private, keep it to yourself. You don't have to share it with anybody, but try and look over it and see if you can find any common themes or reoccurrences. After a couple of weeks, you'll be able to look at that body of data, reflect on it, and then identify those patterns and try and put links in between the events. And this will make you more visually aware of what's happening and possibly why. It helps you identify the possible triggers, and then it means that you can be better prepared for them. So then, by making yourself more aware of the triggers, you might start to take some obvious steps to protect yourself from the inevitable consequences. News of the week time. News of the week time, and this week's news is a little bit different from our normal type of news. A little bit more celebrity gossip, if you want. It's a bit of a change from me giving off about some study that's just come out. But this week is about Tilly Ramsay. Don't know if you know who that is, but that is Gordon Ramsay's daughter, and she is on Strictly Come Dancing. I've seen one episode of the show, and I don't really get it, to be honest with you. It's not my thing. But anyway, I know who she is, and everybody knows who Gordon Ramsay is. But basically, the title is, it's in the Independent, I'm going to read the story out of, but it is Tilly Ramsay, Strictly Star calls out LBC radio host Steve Allen for calling her a chubby little thing on air. words can hurt, and at the end of the day, I am only 19, wrote daughter of chef Gordon Ramsay. So it seems like a bit of a mean thing to say, doesn't it, from old Steve? Apparently he said Tilly Ramsay is on Celebrity MasterChef Australia, is she? Well, she can't blooming well dance. I'm bored with her already. She's a chubby little thing, isn't she? Have you noticed? Probably her dad's cooking, I should imagine. I mean, why would someone say that? Why would someone say that about a 19-year-old girl? Apparently his radio show is on from 4 a.m. to 7 a.m, so I don't really know who actually picked up on this, but maybe he's trying to get more listeners or get more controversy or make a name for himself, I don't know. Apparently he's 67 as well. Apparently that's an important fact in this story. Ramsay wrote in a caption, I try not to read and listen to comments and negativity. However, recently been called out on a national radio station by a 67-year-old man is a step too far. Steve, please feel free to voice your opinions. However, I draw the line of commenting on my appearance. It's such a shame that someone is trying to make such a positive experience negative. This isn't the first and definitely won't be the last comment made about my appearance, and I accept that, and I'm learning to accept myself. She continued that please remember that words can hurt, and at the end of the day, I'm only 19, and I'm so grateful for all the amazing opportunities that I've been able to take part in and understand that being in a public eye obviously comes with its own repercussions, and I've been aware of this from a young age. However, I won't tolerate people that think it's okay to publicly comment and scrutinise anyone's weight and appearance. Love, Tilly. So lots of people are jumping in on this. It's a bit of a storm this week. I think it's going to get more interest in Strictly Come Dancing, good for the show, but it's a pretty mean thing to say, isn't it? It's really not necessary. Why would someone think it's necessary to say that on a radio show? Would he say that to your face? I don't think so. Why, unless she asked for his opinion on her weight or her size or her shape, why is he saying it? So it's a bit different. I don't really like celebrity gossip or celebrity columns and all that crap, but I think this does raise a good point. Is, you know, okay, there's an obesity crisis, and I've talked about it before on this podcast, and I've never called anyone out by name. I'm not going to name and shame anybody because I don't know anybody's BMI. I don't know anybody's body fat percentage. I don't know what their waist size is, and I'm not going to know that unless they disclose that to me or they ask me what I think about it. And it's really none of my business unless it's in a professional capacity, in which case I want to help them get healthier and get fitter and get to wherever they want to be. But outside of that, it's really none of my business, and it's really not Steve Allen's business either. I don't know what his problem is. Like in cases like this as well, if you're going to criticise somebody's weight, you really have to think about, you know, the old people in glass houses analogy. They shouldn't throw stones. So if you're in tip-top shape, right, still doesn't mean you can be mean to somebody or say things about their appearance. But regardless of that, okay, obesity is a crisis in this country. It is a pandemic. We've given all the stats in the previous episode. You can check back on that one. But deliberately calling out people and pointing this accusation at certain individuals is not a helpful thing to do. At the end of the day, Steve Allen doesn't know what Tilly's weight is. He doesn't know whether she's chubby or not. He doesn't know what her body fat percentage is. He doesn't know anything about her. He doesn't know what her waist size is, and nor should he. It's just none of his business. But that's my rant over. I'd like to know what you think about it. I think it's bang out of order to say this, especially in a 19-year-old girl. As a dad of a daughter, I would be ripping if I was Gordon Ramsay. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if Gordon Ramsay gets the meat cleavers out and goes for Steve Allen. Hey, he kind of asked for it, right? I mean, he's kind of going that way. I can understand if Gordon Ramsay went as one of his iconic rants about Steve Allen, but I think Steve Allen, who is Steve Allen? I don't know who he is, but I think this is getting his name out there. He's going to be a bit more famous now, and he's probably going to get a couple more listeners to his radio show. But I would love to know what your thoughts are on it. I think it's out of order. It's Joke of the Week time again. I've had 2 weeks to prepare this week's one, so here we go. Maths teacher says, if I have 5 bottles in one hand and 6 in the other, what do I have? Student shouts out, a drinking problem. It's an oldie but a goodie.
I am not a lizard.
that's it. We got through another show, episode 24 in the books. Thank you so much for joining me. Hopefully you've made it this far. If you have any questions that I can answer for you, got a couple of questions to get through actually to build up. I've got to do them. Not out of time really, but hopefully in the next couple of weeks I'll get through them. Send them in to info@crossfunctionfitness.co.uk. Fire them in on Instagram, Facebook messages, text message, whatever you want to do, and I will get back to you. If you've got any great jokes for me, do send them in as well, and do share them, because I'm running out. Anyway, have a great weekend, whatever you're up to, and stay safe, take care, and don't forget to train today so you can be stronger tomorrow.